welcome to our podcast series, Voices from the Lactation Field in India. Today we have with us Ayisha and Dana having a conversation about using social media for greater impact.
So when Ayisha joined us earlier this month, one of the things that I was noticing is that she does a really great job on social media and on a variety of platforms. And so we get this question often. I just graduated. How do I take the next step? So in this next season, we're going to take smaller topics where we can help you. Maybe you're a student right now, and so maybe it's going to be preparing you. But even as you're doing your coursework, you can start working on some of the things that we talk about today. If you're a graduate and you've been trying to create social media presence, you've been trying to create posts, you've been trying to figure out how to do this, then today's topic is very relevant to you. So actually last week, Ayisha sent me an updated post that she was wanting to share with local hospitals and people in Chennai. And when I saw it, I said, wow, this is really great. So let's talk about it. So Ayisha, can you just give an introduction about where you've come from, where you are today, and why do you care about creating impact on social media?
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you, Dana and Jessica, for welcoming me into BeginEd as well as into this Connect session. So to start off, why this really matters, I think that is the crux of why we're also on social media. Why are we doing this work? What is it we gain out of this work? And what is the kind of impact we want to create? Right. So when I first started off working, the first thing I started was social media. Even before, because when I started work in lactation, I was a new mom with a newborn baby. I was breastfeeding. So social media was the platform through which I started creating awareness, getting more visibility and letting people know that there is a field called lactation professionals. There are people who are there to support you in your postpartum journey. So very often, it's a very famous saying which goes, visibility creates credibility. So unless and until we're out there visible, showing the work that we're doing, not with the intention of showing off, but with the intention of purely making people aware that you can seek help. This is something you have to reach out for support. And yes, I'm there to support you. So that's the intention with which it started. But that being said, social media is a wide platform. There's so much to venture into, which I hope we will get into the details of it in this.
So if we think about social media, Ayisha, 10 years ago, Jessica, can you go to the last slide? We had people, especially in the lactation field, trying to be more minimalist. Like, I don't do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. That's not me. I don't want to be on WhatsApp. But we've seen a shift in the last, especially 5 years, especially during COVID, where that's really not a reality. And so, as you said, it's not necessarily whether or not you should be on social media, but how you should be on social media. So can you just comment on that? Have you seen that shift also?
Yes, a lot of our own fellow colleagues who initially were doing great, amazing work, but never had a social media presence before. They just felt going to the hospital, serving families was more than enough. But then they realized as they were getting into the work, they had to put themselves out there and show people what work they're doing. Also educate families, because a lot of times our own videos are very helpful. Like, for example, I don't give a latch video from YouTube. I have a latch video in my Instagram page, which I send it to my clients saying that look at the video for reference, right? Building your own resource library for educating the families you work with, also bringing in new clientele works so much more better with social media. And yes, that shift has made a huge impact. And I think that's why a lot of people, even over here in the meeting, are people who have great, amazing Instagram accounts.
It's so true. And I've seen the improvements even in the quality. I think using systems like Canva, I'm sure there's others. We predominantly use Canva. Do you use Canva? Is that what
Yes,
you
yes.
used to create this?
That's
Okay.
it.
So,
But when I started off, I used to use Photoshop,
okay.
and then I made the shift to Canva.
Yeah, so Canva's been really helpful and it's really user friendly. Today, we're not going to do a tutorial on how to use Canva, but if you're listening and you're saying, what is Canva? What are they even talking about? You can always send us a WhatsApp message or an email, and we're happy to help you and support you through that. The great thing is they have amazing templates. You don't have to customize and create and design it. It helps with your arrangements. And so I think most of India in this season is using something like Canva, because I've really seen posts, even if it's like promoting a sale or promoting a product, all posts all around have really improved. So Ayisha, when we start with an idea, one of the big questions we have to answer is why. So when you were thinking about making this post, what was your why for this post?
See, my why for this post is I know a lot of my fellow lactation professionals do this work and they do it so well. But I feel that when I was calling hospitals, I was calling them and asking them, can I come and train your nurses? Can I come and train your support staff? They were shocked. They were wondering, is this something people even do? Why are you coming and asking me this? And then I realized this is not something we are talking about openly then. We talk about it in our HTTP meetings or probably in LP meetings, but I don't think it's something the common public recognize as something which is essential. So even for the hospitals, a few points which came up was, how is this beneficial for me? Why should I do this? The smaller setups were like, we have a decent breastfeeding rate. Why should we bring you on board? Right? So I felt a post like this out there speaks more louder and actually answers all of their questions, right? And a lot of the times I keep connecting with fellow doctors, gynecs, hospital staff, hospital management, right? And when I start connecting with them on all the social media platforms, I feel them knowing that something like this exists to start off with before I pick up the phone and speak to them helps a lot.
Yeah, it's a great introduction. And so we used to think more is better. So I'm going to make a 10-page brochure and I'm going to go give it to hospitals all around my location, and then they're going to call me. And so we would create these and we would be proud of it because we really loved the content, but we would put it on someone's desk and then never get a follow-up. And so what does it mean where more is better? Like when you think about this post that you created, what was going through your mind as you were trying to say, what do I even want to put on this?
So there are a few things I thought which are absolutely essential for them to know. One is they need to know who I am, because nobody has any clue who I am. Why are they going to trust me with training their hospital team if they have no clue what is it I do or what credentials I hold? So I thought that is very important to highlight. And I very often I see lactation professionals hesitating to do that, but I think it's not an attempt of showing off, but it's simply because nobody's going to trust you if they don't know who you are. So telling them who you are, what is it you do, what is the kind of credentials you hold is important. And I was very specific this time to put pictures of trainings, because if I'm going to put AI generated images, it's not going to show credibility of the work I do. So I was specific to put pictures of me giving training sessions in other hospitals, so they know I have done this before. It is not my first time. I'm not approaching your hospital now. And I also wanted to specifically mention what are the benefits the hospital will get out of this, right? Why is it you should choose this? How is it going to help your hospital reach the next level? And a little bit of gist of what all the trainings will cover.
So one thing I noticed that's not there, what do you think I'm going to say?
The price?
Money, right? And so we always can go both ways. Do we put like the price? Do we put a discount? Do we put nothing? So what was your thought process here of not putting prices?
I often feel when you put the price, it blocks the conversation. I wanted to first bring a conversation and then talk about the price, because there are a lot of times we do this for free. So I feel like let's first talk. let's first talk about why it's important. Maybe I can do an introductory session, and then after that we can discuss price.
Yeah, and that gives you the freedom to customize. And so if you just put a price, then you're kind of fixed into that price. Even if, okay, I'm going to a small nursing home where they have 4 nursing staff versus I'm going to a multi-specialty where they have nursing teams in each different ward, unit, area. And so those prices are going to be very different, and the time amount's going to be different. What you offer them is going to be different. So it's good to create something where it causes them to ask questions and continue the discussion versus everything's there. So then they're not left asking anything. They think they know what you're doing. And usually we have to do a lot of describing. So another thing I noticed is you are very strategic in your language. You used words like elevate, specialized, even certificates provided, some of the training highlights. And as you said, you chose a focal point for this promotion. I want to share with them what are the benefits to the hospitals, to the client, to the customer. So can you just talk through that as you were thinking about words? What does that process look like for you?
So I often feel there is something called, obviously everybody's customer oriented. We want to make the customer happy. We want to make sure the customer keeps coming back to us. We want clients to keep coming back to us. Hospital wants patients to keep choosing them, right? So I was trying to look at it from the hospital's lens of what are the things which will give them value. How will this give them value, right? And when we speak about breastfeeding rates is something which is, yes, it's a definite positive for the hospital, but is that the only thing they're looking at here, right? They're also looking at bringing back clients and making sure clients are more satisfied and making sure that this training is not affecting their hospital routine, right? When I try to include aspects of online or at the hospital, is to make it more flexible for them and to specify that the training can be made flexible to their timings and their schedules, because very often it is probably nursing staff are overworked, right? How can I add on this burden to them? How can I tell them this is compulsory for them to do one more training? They already go through so much of training, but they had to understand that we are going to cater this to your needs. We are going to handcraft it and customize it to your needs. So it is just a discussion, a point of discussion, Dana, like you said, a starting point for them to come back and say, hey, what is this? I want to know more about it. Tell me more, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of time they see the poster and then they're like, oh, this is not for me, and they walk away. But we want to create that first conversation.
Yes. And that conversation word keeps coming up, but it's not like, okay, I'm selling something to you, you buy it, and the relationship is over. So much of this work we do is relational, whether it's with our clients, whether it's with the lactation community, whether it's with trying to expand the lactation field into hospitals where they say, well, we support with breastfeeding. All hospitals are going to say that, right? We already do this. Our nurses are trained. They've been supporting parents long before we even knew you. So why is your training necessary to us, and why am I going to pay you money? So as Ayisha mentioned, sometimes the best thing to do is to have an introductory session. What other word could we use? Introductory, demo, right? So what is different, Ayisha, about your training? Like, imagine I'm a hospital administrator and you're trying to say, okay, I want to come for the next month on Thursdays from 11 to 12. So why am I going to let my staff give you time?
I'm sorry, Dana, can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, so I'm the hospital administrator, and you are pitching to me, okay, I want to do 4 sessions with your staff on Thursdays from 11 to 12. And so you're trying to convince me of why I should pay you money and allow you to do that.
Paying you money and allowing you to do that is still a term I've
Yeah,
not
those
got
are
to.
two different things, right?
Yes. I just saw this on the call as soon as you told me the word paying you money. So the tricky part is always, Dana, that yes, convincing them, right? So we start off with the conversation saying, first of all, always connection before correction. We don't want to make them feel like we're here to tell them what to do, or we are here to overpower what work they're already doing. So probably starting off, I would always go with giving them a few highlights of how well they're doing the work and how amazing the support they are giving to families is. And then we would definitely talk about the course trainings that I have been through and why is it that I am the right fit for them, right? Talking about things like the hospital team training course, which was specifically crafted for training the nurses and guiding them step by step on how to support mothers. And definitely the curriculum that we have built in the hospital team training program also caters to various aspects, not just the physiology. It also covers the emotional connection, the communication with the parent, handling situations where there are breastfeeding challenges, and how effectively the nursing staff can support them. So I will obviously also cover how a BFHI accreditation holds a lot of value for the hospital, and how, even though I am not directly affiliated to it, just the fact that their nurses are regularly getting training hits a checklist in the BFHI accreditation for them, which we can always help them with our wonderful teammates in ALPI to come aboard. If they really want to go ahead with the BFHI accreditation, we can connect them to resources who can help them with the BFHI accreditation. And I would like to specifically talk about how we can make this beneficial for the nurses without burdening them with extra work. This is time they're already giving the clients, right? They're already spending this time with the mothers. How to make it in a more skilled manner and in a more effective manner is what I am going to, like, we talk about building efficacy, right? So we're going to talk about building efficacy to the nursing staff. So their efforts actually reap benefits immediately and they can see the results of it themselves. So Arana, my approach would be very different because I wouldn't start off with a paid module. I would say for a free module first, right? See how it goes, see what you feel, and then we will come back for more discussions, right? And very often I feel nursing staff are very surprised when they hear a lot of things we have to say. They are in shock. They were like, really? We didn't know this. We were not taught this, right? It's that elements of surprise which we have to capture on in the first session. Because when you keep them wanting more and coming for more, God willing, they are going to keep calling you for more.
So that's a good point, because often a Begin Ed India grad will message me saying, what, do you have any slides or PowerPoints? I'm going to give this session. What should I put in my curriculum? Things like that. But in this case, you're saying this is just a demo. And so you don't want to put everything in one session, because then why should they call you back, right? And so what are some like top 3 skills or topics that you would want to include in a demo in order to encourage them to invite you back?
So one thing I've always, this is based on experience. What I've found which works well with the nursing staff is the immediate golden hour connection with the mother, right? Talking to them a little bit about the benefits of it, not really the techniques of it, but the benefits of, even simple aspects, right? I remember in this session which I've done in the picture, when I was talking about the areola having the same smell as the amniotic fluid, I heard gasping sounds from the audience. There was a guy sitting right next to me who turned and looked at me in shock, right? These small nuances of how you can facilitate physiology and help the mother do what actually they're really good at doing, right? highlighting that I think is a great hit, and also talking about some common challenges. For example, mothers saying no milk.
Yeah.
Right? It's like how we start off antenatal classes with breastfeeding myths. Like that, we start off the support related myths, right? Oh, mothers after a C-section, she says she has no milk. Right? What do you think you would do? Right? And I think the first session should be a lot more interactive, where you ask the nurses, what do you think? How have you been supporting mothers? Has that been working for you? And then we give in our input, and then probably they can gauge the difference, or they should be able to gauge the difference and the gap in their knowledge. We should not be the ones to tell them that, hey, you don't know this. It should be
Yeah.
them saying that, no, no, oh yeah, I didn't know this. This is a beautiful way to do it. Right? So small techniques here and there, which helps them understand that this training is something which will benefit you more than it's going to benefit me. Because ultimately, it's going to benefit everybody.
So for example, like when you're preparing for this, if you want to do a case discussion or a role play, some of the cases we wouldn't choose would be something that's more complex or more like it's not necessarily what nurses would see in the first 24 to 48 hours before discharge. Like if we start with an abscess case, it could be helpful because it's showing where things could go wrong and where it could lead, but they're not going to see an abscess on hour 24, day 1, day 2, day 3. So instead, what are some of those practical cases? Like, could you give an example where you're like, every nurse everywhere is going to see this case, and so they need skills to support this type of case?
So I think the most common thing is a C-section mother.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
The first 24 hours of her lying down, not able to hold her baby, how can you support the mother there? I think that is very important, because that's the gap which we're missing, right? Especially when before the mother is allowed to move or get up, when she's lying on the bed, how can we support that mother?
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing I would want to address, because the nursing staff there play a huge role.
Right. Yeah.
Because very often even their own mothers and grandmothers are scared. She's lying down. How can I feed? How can I hold the baby? What if I, don't position the baby right? So the nursing staff here play a very, very important role.
Yeah, that's such a point, because they're going to come alongside the family, because even like you're saying, that support person, whether it's the spouse, whether it's an elder, they're not thinking, oh, like often we'll put the baby this way, right? Babies can go out anyway with support. We don't need to put them, just cradle, cross cradle, especially if we're laying flat. And so I think that is a huge issue, where our families in those first 24 hours after an operation, they're going to be laying flat. And so we don't want nurses who squeeze nipples and say, Duniwa, there's no milk. We want nurses who will spend some extra time and help with skills. So that's a really great encouragement. And I think we all have supported that hundreds of times. And so why not help nurses do that even better? So Jessica, can you go to the next slide? So I think we covered some of these, but maybe this question, we talked about, oh, I need to put everything, and like the overuse of information. That's one mistake that we make in the beginning, where we are trying to put too much and we're not thinking about our target. Can you think about some other mistakes you've seen? It doesn't have to be like, oh, I saw this Begin Ed India person do this and this. Like, we're not shaming anyone. We're all learning together. But what are some common mistakes that you see when people are new to this, or even not so new?
I think one common challenge I feel is putting too much of medical terminologies. I think that's not the way you approach your target audience. But I wouldn't say don't use medical terminologies, because it's important for clients to also become familiar with these topics. So if you're going to use like even a mastitis, for example, if you're going to say these words, explain it. If you're going to write posts about it, explain what it means, or just put a small reference to an article about mastitis, right? And I would say look at your social media page like your college thesis, because it does not mean that just because it's on social media, it should not have reference to research papers or to evidence-based practices out there, because very often I feel people in the aim of glamorizing the topic, we tend to stray away from the evidence and what it says. So here, quality actually matters a lot more than quantity. So
Yeah.
just giving a lot of information is not enough. Is that information what the mother needs? For example, you're talking, if I'm targeting a mother who thinks she has low milk supply, are these all the thoughts that is running in her mind? Did I cover all aspects of that? Did I miss something in that? Is something we have to revisit. And I think we have to not over promise. That is something which I see often on things. For example, you try this technique, definitely your problems will be solved.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
gonna happen.
And that's really discouraging because we know, I often say, if this has been a 3-week challenge, then let's set the goal for 3 weeks to see improvements versus just
Yes.
meet with me once and I will solve all of your problems. So that actually gets to my next question, because often when we are new or when we are being enticed by some of these companies, we will tie up, collaborate, do social media posts, do reels, all of these things. Insta Live. Am I using the right words? I hope so. Insta
Yeah.
Live? Is it Insta Live or Facebook Live?
Yes, it's
Okay.
live.
And so we think like, well, you know, this is just a general company, so they're not really selling formula inherently, so it should be okay. And so we can get ourselves into a quandary, a dilemma, a challenge of professional ethics if we just think, oh, it's okay, I'll just do it this one time. Because I remind our grads, I remind LP members, I remind everyone that I talk to, the internet is forever. And so often companies, products, today we might screen and think, oh, it's okay. Like they don't sell bottles. It's not the selling, it's the promoting, the advertising. So they don't advertise bottles or formula. So it should be okay. But then we don't know what's going to happen next week. All of a sudden they're partnering with a big formula company. And then they say, oh, we have lactation consultants who, you know, support families through our system, but the system's supported by a formula company. So that creates bias. And so it's difficult because we want good information out there. We want wisdom. We want people who are providing excellent skilled lactation care, but then we have to be also cautious and wise. And so can you talk through maybe even a recent situation in your own life where you had to think through some of these issues?
Okay. Yes, Anna. So this is something which I have actually fallen into many times. I would not lie about it, because when I started off, I wasn't aware of this as much as I should have been. So there were instances where I was probably not posting about it, but there were instances where I was even talking about it to my clients, which later on I felt was a violation of my ethics, because I should not have been promoting or even talking, even saying that, why don't you prefer this bottle to that bottle?
Yeah.
It's something as simple as that. But it has taken me a lot of unlearning to specify on the kind of nipple and the kind of bottle and the material of bottle, rather than talk about the brand. Right. But that being said, the first and foremost thing which I would like to tell everybody is, please read the WHO code, the IMS code of conflict, and your scope of practice, all of that. And I think it's something we have to read a little bit more often than we do. We usually do read it once, twice in the beginning of our career, and then we forget about it. But why I'm saying we should be reading it more often is there are nuances which will hit you again, because some company would have approached you and you'll be like, oh, that's a violation of my ethics. Because many times companies which approach you are companies which actually have a good reach. You are very tempted to actually go and gain more visibility through them, because they have a really good follower base, they have good clientele. It will give you great visibility because they're putting your name on the directory, all of that. And they might be companies which have nothing to do with formula. Like you
Yeah.
said, they might be baby accessories, they might be baby bedding, and you might wonder, so what? They're not doing anything to do with formula. It's not a problem. But this has actually happened to me, where a client saw my number in one of these pages where I've not even given my number. Okay, I had not joined any as an affiliate with them, but my details was on their page. And then she asked me, so Aisha, I saw your name and your contact details there. Do you think I can buy this product? I said, no, 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 I'm sorry. I am not vouching for the product. I have no idea about their product. I have no idea what they do or how they get their materials from. So it is a mistake. And I had to go back to those people and say, please remove my number and name. You can't put my number and name without even getting my permission, which also happens. And the reason I'm highlighting this is because this is the information, this is the credibility the clients get. They think just because you are on the page, or they're not doing formula ads, they think you're supporting the company.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, we don't know, like you said, Dana, we don't know what they're going to venture into. And formula making is a very profitable business. We don't know.
Yes,
Maybe that's
we don't
what
need
we
to help
think that
them.
it's-
Yeah,
Right,
and
it's
it's
so
not to
enticing.
say that there aren't times where we're advising on safe infant feeding, and some of our parents will
Yeah.
one choose to be exclusive formula feeding parents, or we have supply issues, or we have medical indications. So it's not that you become anti-formula, but it's the caution of, where do I put my face, my
True.
name, my credentials? Because of course they want us as brand ambassadors, because we are the face of skilled lactation care.
Correct.
But if what you are choosing to do is not keeping skilled lactation care in the center, and is saying, oh, if you just have this cookie, laddu, drink, pill, then all your breastfeeding issues will be solved. Or if you just have this perfect bottle, then your baby will never have nipple confusion, and it can go back and forth between these. Or this pump is exactly like breastfeeding, so why breastfeed? You can just use this. So if it's those emotional messages and they're not factual, and it's not keeping our value of skilled lactation care in the center, then you should feel inside, we feel that tension, right? And we think like, oh, it's just me and dad are doing, no one will ever know. What's the big deal? Like, had I thought that 13 years ago, and I just started doing that, but from the beginning, even when no one knew who Begin at there was no Begin at India, there was no LP, there was just Dana Hardy in Dehradun helping some families. But I never dreamed, 13 years later, look at the influence we have. And so let's remind each other together to stand for strong ethics and use our influence, use our impact for good, so that skilled lactation care advances in India and around the world. You all have influence. I know some of you do consults around the world, so it's not only just here.
Thank you for joining us for this podcast. Please subscribe to our channel to listen more such interviews.